All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas Eve, I guess, for those who celebrate. December 24th, 2025. Didn't really even have a title for the show because not a ton happened. Got a couple transactions to look at, a couple things to talk about in the chat. But yeah, that's it. Probably a little bit of a shorter day hosting, so got a lot going on at the house, but got to get these in, right? Got to check it out. Got to recoup. So good morning to everybody and happy Festivus to the rest of us. All right. Get your polls ready, your Festivus polls ready, I guess. And then what's it like they like wrestle or something? There's a whole bunch of stuff. All right. So here we go. Not a ton that happened, but we will probably dive into McNeil first. Because we have a lot of Mets fans, obviously. So we'll talk a little bit about the continued teardown of the Mets and try to figure out what they might do. I mean, not that I know. But then we'll look at what this means for the A's as well. So no more McNeil on this roster. If you look at the Mets right now, who's penciled in second base? Marcus Semien. So it made sense. He would have had to go to left field. Now you look at left field. And Carson Bench is actually penciled in on the depth chart. So a guy who really hasn't played a ton of professional baseball one season is now penciled in as the starting left fielder at the moment with Tyrone Taylor in center. Needless to say, there's a lot of things that they need to do, could do. They have a lot of this young talent they could use to do it. They have a big checkbook they could use to do it. But we don't really know what's going to come out of this. What we do know is, in terms of the Mets, but what we do know is they saved a little bit of money. The A's are paying about $10 million of his salary this year. And that there's no Diaz, there's no Pete, there's no Nimmo, and there's no McNeil, who were arguably four of like the main characters of the Mets the past few years. So it's a little strange to see this go, but let's wait and see what the transition looks like, what the new players are, and how the team performs. Feels like there's a lot of pressure on that, but we'll see. All right, so here's how he pencils in on the A's, who I already love their lineup to begin with. Second base was one of the positions they had a little bit of question marks at. Zach Geloff had been penciled in there prior to McNeil getting traded over there. Now Geloff comes completely off. They don't even have him listed as a yeah, they have him now as the AAA second baseman. He'll probably factor in, but Kurtz, nothing wrong with him. Hoping that he can go even to higher heights. Langoliers, he's great. Soderstrom was awesome early. Rooker, we know what he can do. Now you got the squirrel in there. I actually feel like stylistically he makes a lot of sense on the A's over the years. You know, just a grinder, ball player, dirtbag type of player. That's a Jeff McNeil. You know, Long Beach State dirtbag. It all works out. Jacob Wilson, contact guy. So now two preeminent contact hitters in the lineup back to back. Our buddy Lawrence Butler. And then the former first rounder, not to be confused with the other Max Muncy, and then the phenom Denzel Clark out there in center running down balls on defense. So they go ahead and they make a move. I actually really like Oakland's team. I know they need to do more on the pitching side, but this lineup is going to be really tough to face. Lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, righty. Mixture of power, contact, speed in this lineup. Guys who are patient, guys who are ultra aggressive, like a McNeil. So I really like it for the A's. You know, they're trying to compete. They finished in fourth last year. I mean, I think they recognize that they have some special hitters in their lineup now, some special young hitters. So it would behoove them to give this a little bit more of an effort this year. I mean, they're only a couple games behind the Rangers, who are right at 500. This team's not that far off. Not a team a lot of people think about, but they're not that far off. They made the lighter move. You know, I think some more starting pitching, and they might be there. All right, so let's go to our friend, the Flying Squirrel. It's just the Squirrel. But really loved playing with him. I actually love his game a lot. At times, it felt like he didn't love his game. At times it felt like he wanted to be the guy he was in 2019 when he hit all the home runs. And I hate to break it to him and everybody else, but the balls were just a bit juiced that year. His game is spraying the ball all over the park, hitting it where the fielders aren't, getting on base. Occasional damage. It's not like he doesn't have any ability to hit homers. He hits them sometimes. But as you can see in the spray chart, it's all got to be pull side Johnsons. I do think the hit spray chart's a little concerning here. Let's go back to him winning the batting title 2022. I was there. You know, the metrics aren't all that different. Let me see that again. I mean, it's not really like a huge amount of difference here. Just a matter of he took his hits a lot more. 280 expected batting average led to a massive actual batting average. And you see these where these singles are, they're kind of all over the field. Lot of balls to the other side of the field, a lot of balls up the middle. And I feel like this is when Jeff's at his best. Now, this is a heck of a ballpark to hit in Sacramento, so that might boost his overall offensive production. But there's other stuff I like about Jeff too, outstanding range and versatility. He's the type of guy that you might see him on TV doing his moping or looking upset or frustrated or whatever, but the reality is Jeff gives 1,000% on the field. He gets upset because he cares so much. He wants to be really good. I do think when there's a tipping point with that where he now feels like his season is lost and then he starts to quit on himself. But for the most part, he's a fighter, he's a grinder, and that's really what you're seeing. You're just seeing him wear his frustration on his sleeve. He's a perfectionist. He doesn't think any pitcher should ever get him out, and he doesn't think that that he should ever get out, basically. So I get it. He's frustrated and he doesn't buy into, oh, this game's hard, you're going to get out. He thinks he should be on base every time, which, you know what? Sometimes you have to have that type of attitude to break through. All right, so last year he hit 243, 335, 411 for a 746 OPS, which honestly, even though it's only about 400 at-bats, is a lot better than the previous 2 years. Not quite as high up on as 22, obviously. But yeah, I think he actually bounced back pretty well last year. He had a stretch where he was really good. So let's get in the chat, and then we'll continue to discuss this a little bit. I know Maya's going through it with Jeff. That's one of her favorite players, so I get it. And then, yes, as Festivus, the annual airing of grievances and tests of strength. I feel like all we do around here is air grievances in this house, so we'll try to make today a peaceful and harmonious day. Jeff will be good for the A's like Pete will be good for the O's. Both will have mentor role and help blossoming a lineup. Great. Be interesting to watch Jeff in the mentor role. I actually think he has a lot to offer in that regard. He just hasn't been in that spot too often, but now he will be. Now he will be firmly in that role with some of these guys, him and Rooker. So I don't know. This is the first time he's changed teams. Jeff plays well with a chip on his shoulder. I feel like that's what kind of propelled him to get to the big leagues in the first place, feeling like nobody believed in him. So if this puts the chip on the shoulder, that would be good as well. Jeff is going to rake at that ballpark. Hopefully it will make him some more money when he hits the free agent market next year. So two things he has to prove is his health. Obviously he had a kind of a weird surgery this offseason. So that's a thing. We've seen clips of him golfing, so he can't be that hurt. But also now he's getting to that age, 33. He's got to maintain his defensive value, and he's got to find a way to get more hits. I mean, I understand we're in a different era of baseball, but Jeff McNeil's not a 243 or 238 hitter like the past 2 years. He's like a 270 at worst hitter in my mind. And batting average, I do care for Jeff because that's his game: getting hits, getting on base, being a tough out with runners in scoring position. Getting the big clutch hits. That's where he sets himself apart at the plate. Very tough guy to face because you always expect a swing and you're not really sure what he's looking for and you're not really sure whether he'll use the whole field. So he's tough to defend when he's going right as well. So that's a little bit of the Jeff calculus, having faced him a few times. A's could use an innings-eating type arm. Yeah, I mean, they're going to need another arm, in my opinion. All right, here we go. To be fair, making that switch in July 24, bat speed up, walking more, increased pulse, saved his career. Trying to repeat 22 led to what we saw in May 2024. Yeah, I mean, it's just tough, man. This is the modern issue in baseball. Like every time you do a little bit of damage, it's so highly valued that you start to incrementally sell out for that a little more. And not that that's not a good idea for a lot of players. I just think Jeff needs to be somewhere in the middle. Take your chances, but also be annoying, also be good, at putting the ball in play and taking your singles. You look at the expected batting averages over the past few years, and this is a big important stat for me with Jeff. Yeah, 2023 and 2024 were a departure. So stay right where you were last year, carry that through on the offensive side, and just try to have consistent at bats, I do think the ballpark will help him. Citi Field, not a great place for his power to shine. Um, but you see the stuff that's been with him, for his career. K percentage, whiff percentage have been outstanding. Actually got his walks up really well last year, 76% walk. That can cover up for a little bit of him not getting as many hits. I mean, that's driven by a chase rate. That's totally new for Jeff. Jeff's more of the I'll swing at everything and make contact with everything type of hitter. So I don't know. He bears some watching. I know it'll be a little tougher to watch him this year in Oakland. I mean, in Sacramento more often than not. Not a lot of people are watching their games, but they have an exciting team. So we'll check in on Jeff quite a bit. This is good. Expected on base this year, 89th percentile. It's best ever. That's really his job. So maybe he is sitting a little bit prettier than I thought. Coming off the last few years, which have been kind of a mixed bag. If you look at different stats, you might have different impressions. Bat speed improved, to Maya's point, up to 27th percentile. That's a big jump from 8th percentile. Every little bit matters. Squared up rate, I mean, he's selling out a little more at times for a little damage, so that's why that came down a little bit, and then he makes his swing a touch longer. So there's all a bunch of trade-offs in here, and we'll see where he ends up with his trade-offs and what decisions he makes this year and what the A's do to him too. I mean, they have a lot of good hitters. Maybe a little bit of that can rub off on him in a roundabout kind of way. And then joke's on me, I actually love Jeff's moping. Yeah, and he just doesn't hide it very well. You might be right about this, Maya. There's a lot of people that get pretty furious during baseball and pretty frustrated. They just do a good job of hiding it, I guess. All right, here we go. What do you make of all the lower payroll teams making splashes prior to the impending end of the current CBA? I don't really know what I make of it. I think some of them are individual circumstances, right? We're about to talk about the Pirates here in a second, and Ryan O'Hearn he's one of the more. I mean, that's one of the Pirates are one of the teams that we're thinking about now. I mean, they've made a few moves. They finally signed a free agent. They made a couple trades. The Royals have spent some money. I don't know how much of it's CBA related. I'm sure some of it is, but I also think some of it's situation related. For one thing, you think about the situations with the powers that be with those two teams I just mentioned, with a couple of teams I just mentioned. The Pirates, for example, they have Paul Skeens. This is the last year he's on the minimum contract. They have Jared Jones returning. They have, really, if you look around the league, they have one of the better starting staffs in terms of upside. Skeens, Keller, Ashcraft, Chandler, Molodinsky, with Jared Jones returning. Like, they don't want to waste that. I think ultimately, just to have Paul Skeens on a horrible team for a few years doesn't make a lot of sense. They probably had to make a decision. Do we just go ahead and trade him and continue to build more assets to have an entire roster that's a little more viable moving forward, or do we try to build around him a little bit? Obviously, they made the choice to maybe build around him a little bit. So I think that's one hyper-specific situation. I think it's similar with the Royals because they've been trying to compete in their division for a while, and they feel like they're probably close. They were right at 500 last year, 2 games over 500 last year. They're looking at that delta there, that 6-game gap between them and the Guardians, with the Tigers also in the way, and they think they can make that. They believe in their team, so that's why they added a little bit. I think that it's more individual circumstances rather than just a general CBA thing, but I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that. And admittedly, I haven't been as locked in on the bargaining side of things in a while. All right, back to Jeff. He was hovering around at 800 OPS all year before the thoracic outlet syndrome. Yeah, he got on a huge roll. I remember being on an SNY show and having studied Jeff for a little bit. He went on a huge run, and I want to say July, where he was really tearing the cover off the ball. And then, yeah, the TOS, which we don't know the impact of that yet, the thoracic outlet syndrome, but it definitely torpedoed him a little bit at the end of the year. Overall, I mean, I think there's reasons to believe that he's finding it again, and that's what the A's are banking on. I will miss Jeff, but I think the plan Stearns has going forward is interesting. It's time to shake things up and see what we can do with new opportunities moving forward. Oh, it's certainly interesting. Let's just see what they are. Right now, it's like we don't know what will be revealed. I saw Cohen came out and said he expects the payroll to be high, just as high. So the money's probably going to get spent. It's just who you're choosing, what players are you choosing to give it to? How do the puzzle pieces fit together? What's the vision? And obviously, he has no reason to share the vision with anybody. He's got to go ahead and formulate the vision and then put the vision on the field, and we'll see it when it's ready. But it's interesting to watch a little bit of stuff trickle in and kind of see where this team is headed, because this is a totally different baseball club than it has been for a few years ago. Stearns is the chairman of the Festivus holiday. Clearly, he's airing his grievances. So, okay. Here we go. Yeah, I'm glad he went somewhere. He won't be playing the Mets a lot. I don't even know if, well, I mean, they'll play the Mets at least one series next year. I assume it'll be in New York, actually. I think Mets went to Sacramento last year. So, yeah, so you'll get one series in Queens. Yeah, see, this is what I saw in his profile too, Maya. The walks and the strikeouts, like the on base, that's not a thing that he ever really had in his game. This is weird. 76th percentile walk. The last time he had walks was in the 2020 season. So he's been below average walk rate his whole career until now. That's a notable change. That's a philosophy change, something different there. That can only be a good thing. Getting Jeff on base more can only be a good thing. Whether it's singles, walks, whatever. You know, he's still got some speed, still an annoying base runner. All right, so now that we're on to talking more about the CBA and the Pirates, we'll just jump ahead to the Pirates. So I was just looking at them a second ago. They made the second biggest move of the moment right here. Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn comes in on a 2-year contract, drops right in this lineup. Is going to play a little DH, going to play maybe a little bit of first. I know Spencer Horwitz is there. But now you look at the lineup, and all of a sudden, it's been reimagined. This was the problem they had last year. We talked a little bit about their pitching staff being good. Daniel's comment here. They have Paul Skeens. They got, they don't want to be embarrassed. They want to make this time period with him, reasonable. Give him a reason maybe to stick around and all that type of stuff. This was the first multi-year deal they gave out since Ivan Nova. When you look at how he slots in the lineup, he'll look good right in the middle. He's a good hitter. Oriole. Really found himself with the Orioles the last few years. So let's go dig in on Ryan O'Hearn a little bit. I remember years ago him hitting 2 opposite field home runs against us at Yankee Stadium when he was with the Royals. And that's a deep shot out there to the left center field bullpen in Yankee Stadium. And I just took a little mental note. Okay, some raw physical ability here, but it really hadn't broken out yet. Hadn't really figured out how to hit yet. Then he goes to Baltimore, and it totally turns around. So this basically encapsulates his time in Baltimore. I mean, there was a little bit of 22 as well. But 802 OPS in 23, 761 in 24, and 803 this year between Baltimore and San Diego, where he was pretty good after the trade, but he was better in Baltimore. He's got some thump. I wouldn't say it's crazy, but he's got some thump. Also, a very good eye at the plate. 10.7% walk rate. That drives this on base percentage. 366 on base and 544 at-bats is outstanding. That's what ultimately probably got him paid. It's a little bit of both. A little bit of on base and a little bit of slug. 2-year deal makes sense with his age and his overall track record. I was looking at his overall track record a second ago, and you can see how his career really has taken off when he went to Baltimore. Kansas City, he was a negative WAR player for a while. Just couldn't get his batting average up. I think he was swinging at too much stuff. Let me see what his What's walks look like here? Yeah. I mean, there's some walks in his game in 2019, but ultimately nothing like there is today. Nothing like there is today in terms of the combination of on base with a little pop. And he's been a little more consistent, averaging about 2 WAR, about 2 WAR over the past 3 seasons. So it's similar to like a Mike Yastrzemski in terms of value. I think they end up getting paid about the same amount of money. Ahern is pretty good in the field when he does get a chance to play in the field. Not that he plays it a ton. So there's a little bit of value there. He's not a truly great outfielder or anything. So he's not going to be able to run out there and save runs. But first base, he's acceptable. And again, I just think the Pirates have no choice. Like, they have to give it a shot. They have to give it a shot. They have to see where they're at. Oh, the other aspect with the Pirates is like Sherrington's been there a long time. There's a possibility they could shake it up if they don't start making some progress. So I definitely think this was an intriguing move. I was wondering who was going to take the Pirates' money. Clearly, they wanted to spend it on somebody. They made some offers. And then they couldn't get anybody to take it early, so they made the trades, the Lau trade, the password trade, etc., which I love, the Lau trade, what they got, not only the 1 year of Brandon, but also Montgomery and Mangum, who are interesting players. And now you add Ahern to the lineup, and now it's a totally different team. So you're taking a team that wasn't that bad last year, considering their pitching in that division, that they're looking to compete with the rest of these boys in. And now the lineup's a lot better. We'll see how it actually plays out. But Ryan Ahern took their money, and he's now their best hitter, I think. Him and Reynolds, if he bounces back. Lau, we talked about. He's got the power, but a little bit of too much chase. But if they can get that right, that middle three of Lau, Reynolds, Ahern could be pretty annoying. That could be tough. That could be tough. Speaking of the CBA, saw in Baseball America today that there's some talk about the draft going to 10 rounds and another level cut in the minors. So what's the draft now? 20 rounds? I thought it was already down to like 10. This is just a little bit unfortunate. It's a benefit to some of the other leagues, Mexican League and India leagues, overseas leagues, ultimately cutting down on roster spots in the minor leagues. It has almost no effect on the major leagues, because for every diamond in the rough that exists, if they never were found, nobody would ever know. And so I think it's a shame, because one of the great spirits of baseball is the meritocracy, and you can get drafted late and knock the door down on the way to the big leagues. Piazza, I know he was a godson or whatever, but DeGrom wasn't a high pick. Goldschmidt wasn't a high pick. There's plenty of these guys, but you're going to see less and less of that if they do lower the amount of people that are in the minor leagues in terms of the roster sizes and also the draft size. Ultimately, to the casual, they won't notice it, but Carl's saying he thinks high school kids are the most affected. This will also make the college baseball. This is another thing. I didn't mention that it would also strengthen college baseball. It probably would also strengthen college baseball, which in a way is cool. But in a way, it's free player development. Now, all of a sudden, major leagues don't have to pay money to develop those guys through the minor league system. They kind of have college doing it for them, and they can just go ahead and scout them and pluck those guys. So in a way, it's kind of passing a responsibility on to somebody else. And I don't know, it's more of a business decision probably than anything else, but I'm not too far into that to understand. All right, why 2 years with Ryan Ahern? What are the Pirates doing? I don't know. They've gotten a few dudes, and the acquisitions are nice, so it's more the question about the team's identity if the pen holds. So look, I think that the reality is Paul Skeens drives everything with this team. Paul Skeens is about to go to arbitration after the series. Already got a Cy Young. He'll probably add some more hardware of some sort this year. Him and Skubal are the best pitchers in the sport. It's all about him. He's about to start making a lot of money in ARB. There's still time to flip that if they want to completely rebuild. I also don't think that they financially are ready to commit to anybody with a whole bunch of years and a whole bunch of money. So you think about years ago, the Mariners throwing that huge contract at Robinson Cano when they were in a spot maybe like the Pirates, where they're like, you know what, we got to do something. We have Felix Hernandez here. We got to make a move. Pirates don't go that route, because nobody would probably take the money and they're not going to offer it. So instead, they go for the 2-year situation where they can kind of Try to win now, continue to add to the roster now, constantly evaluate, and if they have to tear it down and move Skeens while he still has years of control left, and then they tear all this down, that makes sense. Because it's only 1 year of Lau, and there can't be that many more left of Reynolds, and then O'Hearn with the 2 years. So this is like kind of a half measure. Like they're kind of going, but they're also kind of evaluating through this period, in my opinion. Okay, there's the update on when Jeff comes to New York. Perfect. Juan Soto getting credit for McNeil's walks. Baseball isn't like NFL. Those first rounders are hardly ever ready straight out of college. I think they will be better straight out of college as time goes, but forcing it out of players seems bad. There are a lot more players that are ready quicker now. You've seen a lot of quick moving guys and stuff like that. It's just like they're reimagining this whole system. At one point, there was like 75 rounds of this draft, and there was like organizations that had 11 minor league affiliates or something, if you included all the leagues, Dominican Summer League, Venezuelan Summer League, etc. So I don't know. This is a consolidation. This is a business thing. This is trimming the fat. And does it suck for the players and the opportunity? Yes. This is how it is in everywhere else, though. NBA has 2 rounds. Second round's not even a guaranteed contract. So these jobs are hard to get. And what you do as an amateur sets you up big time for your opportunity. I do think this will strengthen college baseball. But we have to watch how this plays out. All right, we'll keep going. This was about the Pirates with the bottom 2 offense last year. Hitting lefty in PNC is also a nice place to be. That's true. Left center is super deep. Right center is very achievable. The big wall in right, pretty good. If you remember, Gregory Polanco, Pedro Alvarez, those are some guys that were lefties that really raked in Pittsburgh. Should be able to add even more litter into the Allegheny River if he hits a few balls out there. All right, Daniel's on the same. I think you're on the same path as me here a little bit with my thinking. It could be Ben Sherrington, the GM's last year if they stink, so he's got reason to go and to make some adjustments and take a couple chances here. As well, they needed to negotiate in the right signing window. Like they weren't obviously able to woo a guy like Schwarber, and maybe there's some other guys that were on their radar, but they're just not realistically going to be able to sign them. So this makes sense for everybody's vision, I think, in terms of the timing. And O'Hearn's a good player. Any chance Griffin makes the team out of spring training? Dude, maybe. He's that nasty. He's that highly rated, but I don't know. I mean, that's up to them. I have a feeling we're going to see him, Connor Griffin. We're going to see him this year. He's banging the door down in the minors. So how much do I think Mangum's year last year was driven by luck? He had a ridiculous ground ball percentage. Yeah, we looked at Mangum the other day. I mentioned how his profile is very interesting. He just basically refuses to strike out. 15% strikeout rate, doesn't swing and miss, puts the ball in play, tons of grounders, but opposite field grounders are a lot of hits. So I think it's sort of lucky, sort of not lucky. This is sort of his batting average is always going to look good, but his OPS is always going to look bad. So I don't know if it's totally luck or not. I'd have to watch more to understand how many of these hits were complete and utter luck and how much of it's more of just an overall function of his approach. But I like him because he's a good defender, he's fast, and he's another guy that, it's different. He's not going to slug for you, but he's going to be annoying. He's going to be tough to face, and he's an interesting piece, to have on the team. Yeah, and the trades they make them look like they're trying to compete. I agree. I think they are. All right. Look at the Pirates' home versus away record. Was it really crazy different last year? Pirates 44 and 37 at home, 27 and 54 on the road. Wow. Bad. Bad on the road. I don't know. I mean, is that like a park thing? I'm so used to like the Coors Field because there's actual big differences from the Mile High to the sea level that really affect the baseball. But like in this case, is it just a comfort thing? It's not like the home crowd is like a huge factor at Pittsburgh games right now. They're not packing it out unless Paul's on the mound, so it's a little interesting. Yep, Jeff wasn't a high pick either. Grinded it out. He'll let you know that he grinded it out too. Called me a silver spoon baby one time because I was a first rounder and I had to remind him that I went to Northeastern University. So there was a little bit of grinding. Mine just happened a little bit earlier. But I love Jeff anyway. Horowitz is also a solid hitter. So that's the thing. He was hurt a lot last year. Spencer Horowitz. They got him from the Jays. And he never really played much last year, but this is a piece that they're hoping to make a big difference this year. He did get 364 at-bats, hit 272, 353, 434 for 787 OPS, and the year before 790. Like, this guy has real ability. So if they get a full year out of him and he takes a little bit of a leap, I do think that could make this lineup that much better. I do think the Padres wait to trade Skeens after the next CBA to see how much revenue sharing changes. Okay. 2015, 2016 Pirates was when it was electric. That's when you go to the ballpark and be legitimately intimidated by the crowd and their lineup. They were very, very good. Very, very good. Pirates really lucked into Skeens. Front office tried to manipulate Skeens' service time in his first year. Call him up not knowing he'd still win Rookie of the Year. Lost 2 draft picks because of it. Yeah, I remember playing the Pirates that year. I think it was like very early May. He still hadn't been up yet. And just thinking they could really use this guy. He's destroying AAA. Why is he not up here yet? I mean, now all the incentives have flipped around. The service time manipulation doesn't always work. So, yeah, this was the record I just saw. 44 and 37 home, 27 54. I don't get that necessarily, but we'll see. Eric says it's because they can't play when they don't have the gorgeous skyline in the background. Yeah, I can get Jeff on the show. That's a good idea. I'll text Jeff. We'll get him on January or February. It's a good idea. He'll be great. Also, the crowd is really underrated. The attendance numbers tend to suck. So here's the thing. That's my point. I think that the fan base is electric. I think that there's nobody in the ballpark right now unless Paul's pitching. So years ago when it was packed out, believe me, I played it when it was packed out, top 5 crowd in the big leagues, 100%. They're tremendous. The atmosphere is outstanding. It's just that they're the type of sports fans where like, you don't take care of us, we don't take care of you. I'm not going to the ballpark anymore. And that's how it's been the last few years. It's been awfully quiet with not a real much of an atmosphere. It made me a little bit out by the bullpen because you're so like exposed to the fans out there, but not electric like it was 2015, 2016. Pittsburgh could stand another arm too, a veteran. I could see that. I mean, there'll be plenty off the scrap heap. I think they'll wait that out and they'll find somebody like a Walker Buehler. He'd probably get too much money, but he'd be interesting there. They had 3 sellouts last year, and each time they were sell the team chants. So there you go. Like the fans know. The fans are passionate. They just don't show up a ton. So it'll be interesting. Justin Courtney is texting me. He came back for the holidays from the Dominican. He's going back to pitch in the round robin where the Toros qualified. He was the recent pitcher of the week down in Dominican, which is great. I'm texting him. I want to get him on the show. Give me some winter ball updates. I'm going to ask him, can I get you on the show for a few minutes before you go back? So we'll see. Okay. Yes, it was totally electric. I mean, you remember the whole, Johnny Cueto dropping the ball thing? There was some great stuff. Wasn't Horowitz somebody's guy from the Jays who went to the Pirates, and that's why they traded for him? Maybe, but I don't know. But Horowitz was a good player. I mean, that was an interesting trade when that happened. Ooh, Patrick Corbin. He's another one that will be a scrap heap guy, but he'll make all his starts. Maybe he's like, again, they'll be in that type of range towards the end. I don't think Buehler. I could see Buehler to the Braves. I think the Braves want another pitcher. He looked a lot better with the Phillies at the end of the year, Walker. So that could be something. Oh, yeah, yeah. There was an in-between in the Luis Ortiz deal. That's how it happened. Now Ortiz is Safeway at the moment. So, okay. What else we got? I don't think there's a whole lot. Couple more things. Sean Newcomb. Sean Newcomb, former teammate of mine in Red Sox spring training last year, ended up getting to the A's and ended up pitching pretty well. Ends up signing with the White Sox now. So he gets a $4.5 million deal. I noted he looked pretty dang good in spring training last year, so I had a feeling he was going to be more effective when he came up. I remember when this guy was a phenom when he first came up for the Braves. A lot of people compare him to a John Lester type, really easy cheese. Now he's added a lot more to his game. He's throwing this slurve pitch now. He's got, look at all the pitch types: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitch types. Curious going back in time how he used to be. So his very early years, he was a 4-pitch pitcher, but he was over 60% fastball. That's when he had the easy cheese and the fastball would play. 17, 18, and 19, he's over 60% fastball. Then you see it start to come down. 54% in 20, 57.7 in 21, 55 in 22, 51 in 23, kind of crashes out of the game, finally gets under 50%, and then this is the new version, 29.9%, so 30% fastball at this point. So these are some of the adjustments that Newcomb has made. He went from a primarily fastball pitcher to a kitchen sink pitcher. About equal parts four-seam and sinker now with the slurve, which is a new breaking ball for him as of a few years ago. That's become a better pitch for him. 172 batting average on that. 249, 197 WOBA, 206 x WOBA on his slurve is outstanding. So this might be his best pitch now. But yeah, Newcomb's like a guy who made some real changes, improvements under the hood, got to a situation where he could pitch, put up a sub-3 ERA, and now gets himself a guaranteed deal in another place where he's going to get a ton of chances. The White Sox. White Sox continue to make low-cost moves to make their team better. And you see those top 3 pitches were all awesome. That combination of four-seam, slurve, and sinker has really propelled him. Now, the other stuff, the ancillary stuff, has not been as good, but that's his new triangle. Four-seam, slurve, and then sinker off that. It's a lefty with easy cheese. Velocity has come down quite a bit, but the ball still gets on you pretty good. Kind of in a weird way because he doesn't have a lot of extension, but it's a little bit of a low slot. And now he's actually becoming more of a ground ball pitcher, getting off the barrel. I think that's more of a function of how much east-west he has in his game now. 93.3 on the four-seam, right around league average for a lefty. But yeah, it's these 3 pitches. Four-seam, slurve, and sinker. And let's go to the White Sox. Obviously, Murakami was the big recent move, but now they're filling out this rotation. They got Anthony Kay from back from Yokohama. Newcomb's in there. Shane Smith was the Rule 5 guy who was great. Martin. So there's a little bit of more of an upside, a little bit more of a calculated risk here with some of these starters. And then they have a little bit of a core developing on the offensive side. Teal, Montgomery, Vargas, Murakami. They're going to be a fun team to watch. I watched almost none of the White Sox last year, and now we have more reason to watch them. So there's Sean Newcomb. I want to look back at Newcomb and just show you how great he was at the beginning with the Braves. These are the very first couple years. Age 24, 25, and 26. He was 1.4 WAR or better in all those years. 19 starts the first year, 4.32. That's acceptable for a rookie for sure, especially in that division, that ballpark. Next year makes all 30 starts, 3.9, 164 innings. Then it starts to fall off a little bit. Ends up kind of transitioning to the bullpen a lot in 2019. And then 2020 was a disaster and all kind of backed up on him. Went through Chicago, was with Oakland, ended up back with Boston in spring training, continued to rework himself. You saw the pitching, all the different percentages changing, becoming more of a kitchen sink pitcher, adding the sinker, fixing his slurve, and then he goes to the A's last year, and he was unbelievable last year with the A's. Now, a lot of it was in relief, but a 1.75 in in Sacramento last year, 51 and a third, 14 walks, 50 punch outs. It's only 6.8 hits per 9. So White Sox are buying in. He's still young. 32. He's not very old, considering how long he's been around. Yeah, look at that gap from 2020 to 2024 where he didn't qualify anymore. And also another reason for the moving away from the fastball is just the fastball velocity has continued to trend down over the years. But that slurve has become a plus pitch. So just another interesting little minor move by the White Sox. This is what you're going to see from them. But I'm glad to see a couple teams, White Sox, Pirates, teams that have really punished their fan base for a long time, trying a little bit right now. I'm a fan of that. All right, let's hop in the chat for a sec. Okay. This was the old Pirates. Kutch, Marte, Polanco, Sean Rod, Jung Ho Gong, AJ Burnett. Yeah, I mean they had a lot of great players. You know, Jeff Locke, Garrett Cole, Pedro Alvarez. You know, Jordy Mercer was a good player. A lot of good players. You know, JMO was there. A lot of people. Yeah, we'll get Jeff on the show, definitely, 100%. Do I think the 2026 White Sox could have a 2025 Marlins year? Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if they're really ready. I don't think they have enough pitching, if I'm being honest. But I like the young core that's developing. And I just think, man, if this team could just step on it a little bit more in the payroll area, they have the financial ability to dominate this division with payroll. So I'd like to see that. I know it's not really in the Jerry Reinsdorf way, but I just don't think this bullpen's got anything going. It's very mid to below average, in my opinion. And then the rotation, yeah, I mean, they're adding to it, but it's really the young core of position players that's exciting. Other than that, they still have a long way to go. But I expect them to keep trying to be a little bit better. All right. Okay, here's another thing that happened. Ronnie Enriquez, all of a sudden going down, kind of out of nowhere from Tommy John. He had a heck of a year with the Marlins this year. A little short little guy. But man, look at this year. Sorry about that. 7-1, 2.22 in 69 games, 73 innings, 98 punch. This guy was one of the better relievers in baseball last year. I wonder if the workload increase got to him a little bit, but I was thinking about it a little bit. Tommy John sucks. This is probably the best time to have Tommy John, though, because you have almost no service time, but you were so dominant that your job will be waiting for you when you get back. And you're going through a time period where you weren't getting any raises anyway. By the time you come back, you'll be getting ready to go through ARB. So in a way, if you're going to blow out, this makes the most sense. Doesn't really cost you long-term. Sets you up for success when you come back. The only thing that stinks was he was just taking off as a player, and now he's got to wait a year to come back. 98% expected, 98th percentile expected batting average, 36% strikeout rate. I mean, tremendous stuff from this dude. Averaging 96.7 from a very small guy. That ball played crazy. His two breaking balls, sweeper and slider, are electric. Sucks for the Marlins because I think they want to compete a little bit too. But that's the reality of the game. Guys are probably going to have Tommy John at some point. And as a team, you hope it's not in your winning window. But they're probably not in their winning window now. It just sucks because this was such a bright spot for them last year, Ronnie Enriquez. What was the big pitch that dominated for him last year? Yeah, the two breaking balls, the sweeper and the slider. Both of them guys hit in putrid in the 170s and 140s. 220 ex-woba on the sweeper, 240 on the gyro slider. That's nasty. What's the break on these pitches? So on his sweeper, didn't mean to do that. On the sweeper, he's getting 13 inches at 85. That's pretty good. And then the slider is more of a bullet slider. So really good really good combination on Ronnie Enriquez. And yeah, he's out for the year, so that kind of sucks. All right, let's keep rolling here. You know what? Kind of right. Like, young starter on a good team, kind of lost for a while, circle back around, starting bullpen, getting some more opportunities. I can see some comparisons a little bit in terms of the career arc. Shelby Miller, And Newcomb. Is PMC one of my favorite ballparks to pitch in? Honestly, no. It's a beautiful ballpark. I think it's really especially beautiful for the fans. For whatever reason, don't love their clubhouse. They have a really long, weird staircase. The back way is not as accessible to the bullpen. Don't love their bullpen either. You're kind of a sitting duck out there, which is fine. Like, I don't mind the fans or whatever. But like if it's bad weather, cold or rainy or really bright and sunny or hot, there's really nowhere to escape. So there's certain aspects of it I don't love as a visiting player, but no denying the field is gorgeous. Mound's pretty good. I've had some good outings there, some bad. Kind of curious to see what my numbers are at this place. I don't think they're that great. All right, by ERA, yeah, Pittsburgh, 5.87 in 8 games. I did strike some guys out, 12 strikeouts and 7 2/3, but 9 hits. I remember I got clipped by John Jaso. That probably changed my numbers a little bit. So strikeouts, but got hit a little bit. I don't know. I had a hard time focusing there at times. I remember being really out of whack, but I also had one of my more dominant outings ever there in 2018 in a freezing cold game. I don't know. I guess I'm in the middle. It's not a place that I loved pitching, but I didn't hate it either. Ishbia apparently put his thumb on the scale for the White Sox and Murakami. Ooh, I love that. So Ishbia is the owner of the Suns. I know he's a minority, I believe, owner with the White Sox. So he's trying to get them to push in a little more. I think the Murakami thing is awesome. I'm so fired up for that. We're going to watch tons of White Sox, especially Murakami at bats, which is exciting this year. The fact that the White Sox in Chicago, Illinois, have people calling them a struggling small market in the last year is funny. Exactly. It's more, they should be going. They're a big time team. They're a big time team. I met a guy who pitched 9 innings in MLB, got Tommy John with 2-year recovery and got all the service time. Yeah, that's how it goes. It's kind of one of those things you don't want to brag about because people don't appreciate it in the clubhouse, but injury time is big. I think I probably got like 300 days, almost a full year total in injury time over the course of my career. So it's part of it. You should definitely go. Gorgeous. All right, and so the last thing I want to do, unless somebody else can throw something else they want me to stare at for a minute. Let's just pull up the that USA roster. Finally got the actual like thing to look at here. So this is the projected roster as of the moment. And looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more spots to fill out. 3 more pitchers and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more bench players. So the question is, do you just continue to go with star players on the bench for Team USA in this WBC, which is going to be freaking awesome? Or do you do you fill it out with more of like a, some useful guys? Now, they're not going to be doing any defensive replacements for PCA or Corbin Carroll, or probably even Judgy. They could maybe use, they're going to need a backup outfielder. They're going to need a backup infielder. And looking at this, we got lefty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, 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 left. I think I could probably use one more big righty bat. I know Pete's thrown his name in there. This is a great idea, and I don't know if they would actually do this, but I think it would be cool. Put the top prospect in the sport on the team. Put Connor Griffin on the team. Have him watch Bobby, have him watch Gunnar, have him blend in with those guys, use him to pinch run a little bit, maybe give him some run when you're blowing a team out. I think that would be freaking cool. That would be really cool. As for the other pitchers, lefties, they got Clevenger, and there's Boyd in the rotation right now. So I think they need another really good lefty. We went through the list a little bit. But yeah, probably 3 more relief types. Probably 1 with a little bit of length on them. And then bench players. You can't go wrong with this lineup. This lineup is unbelievable. There's no Mookie. There's no Pete Alonso. There's a couple guys missing, but overall, this is probably the dream team at the moment. Corbin Carroll, PCA, and Judge in the outfield. Hard to beat that. Gunnar and Bobby and Terang right now is the second baseman, who's a really good player in his own right. There might be somebody who could be better than him, but I'm happy with that. He brings a different dimension. And then Harper, we were waiting on Harper. I felt like that was always going to be the case with D-Row and Harper having played together. So he ends up being there. He wanted to play in the last one, didn't get there. He's in there now. We'll see how he performs. Obviously, Schwarber can't do better than him at DH, and then the dumper. So you got the dumper and Will Smith at catching. That's unbelievable. and they'll continue to fill this out. Maybe I would love to see like Ernie Clement. I mean, I'd like to see some utility guys get in here and maybe a couple good bats as well, as they have a lot of spots to fill out. But now you're not really offering a starting spot, so it's a little bit of an interesting dynamic. And now Kurtz, I don't think makes any sense on the team, unfortunately, because you're not going to pinch hit him for Harper or Schwarber. Really, Judge never getting pinch hit for, so he'd probably never play. So that's kind of how it goes. I want to see them throw a couple different looks in the pen. So it'd be great if Rogers was here. Milner would be a good pick. I'd love to see some down low guys. Just some different angles. Well, we'll see how they do it. I'm wondering if these are already figured out or if they're still parsing through that. Because I think this team's now the favorite in the tournament, personally. I know they have that USA hasn't won, but you look at this team, now that they have Skeen, Skubal, Webb, Ryan, that's the best rotation they've ever had. So I think the US has now moved into the driver's seat in this tournament, in my opinion. Plus their initial round with Great Britain, Italy, Mexico, Brazil is pretty weak. So they should roll through that, and then they'll get into the harder games after that, and we'll just have to see. I believe there is a 3-batter rule. Olsen might have been the best pick overall. I agree. First base was a tough one to fill because you got Harper, Kurtz, Olsen, and Alonso. I think are all and Michael Busch are all really good options. But I think Harper, just the veteran status, the fame of it, the closeness with Dero, the desire to be there, having missed out the last time. I kind of knew this was coming. Is Dero a good manager? I thought he was pretty good, but he had never really managed before. And now all of a sudden you're in this very high pressurized tournament. I talked to him a little bit after. He said it was really hard to analyze how his pitcher was looking or feeling from the dugout. He needed somebody to kind of, and I think a lot of teams do this, kind of feed him some information from people who are watching on screen where they can see a little better. And I think that threw him off, and how quickly the bullpen decisions kind of snuck up on him. But I thought he did a really good job, and it wasn't his fault that we lost. We lost by 1 run in 1 game. So ultimately, I thought he was pretty good. Definitely cared a lot. Gave some good speeches for sure. All right. Ooh, Hunter Green turned it down. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Hunter Green's probably headed towards free agency and stuff like that. So I don't know. And then also, this is a good question about DeRosa. I know he had gotten some managerial interviews. I don't know what happened this offseason. I don't know what he wants to do. I think he's making a lot of money being the star of that MLB Central show. So it's kind of hard to beat that gig, lifestyle-wise. He's on in the mornings. I think he gets to still go back to Atlanta or wherever he lives quite a bit. The opportunity would have to outweigh that. I think he still values a lot of time with his kids and stuff. Obviously, manager is a full 360 type of job where you're very busy. So I don't know the details on that. I'd love to know more, but yeah, I think at some point you'll probably see him get a chance. Probably. I mean, the fact that he's doing these, managing these, is a pretty good jumping off point, I would say. So, okay, what did I miss? Chris Martin re-signed with the Rangers. We talked about that, I believe, in his crazy low walk rate. We did all the trades. Did we ever look at Foster Griffin? What was the story with him? He got officially signed. This happened a while ago to the Nats. So it's another guy who's looking to just get a clear spot. He was the last 3 years in Japan, pitched for the Yomiuri Giants. He was really, really good. 315 and 2/3, 2.57 out there. So now he comes back, left-hander, and he's going to get a shot with the Nationals. Let me look at that Nationals situation, because now we're starting to see controllable starting pitchers are getting moved for really nice returns. Boz got a huge return. So now you're looking at that. If you're the Nationals and you don't think you're going to win this year, and you're thinking, Mackenzie Gore, what can we get for him? It's only 1 year of control, or maybe it's 2 years of control, but he might be a better pitcher than Boz. So to me, I could see Gore getting moved off this right now, because the return could be too good to pass up. And then Foster Griffin penciled in that number 5 spot. Other veterans potentially could be on the move for this team. I would say C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia. I don't know if anybody will take Keibert at this point with his upside or lack thereof, maybe at this point. But yeah, Nationals might be looking to make some of these similar moves that the Rays just made if they can plug some more needs in their system. So I could see that maybe. Ooh, Ref Snyder. We'll do Ref Snyder, and that'll be the last one. All right, because then I really got to get going today. I have a lot of errands to run for the family, and they are counting on me. Okay, Rob Ref Snyder, great dude. Basically a platoon batter, but has completely changed his game over the past few years. Does way more damage now. 830 OPS in 24, 838 last year, and that's in limited at-bats. I don't know what type of at-bats he's going to get on the Mariners. We'll go look at their roster in a second. And even though he doesn't qualify, he really turned around a lot of these numbers. Look how good they are. The only thing below average is whiff and K, but that's because he's swinging big now. Still walks a lot. Yeah, I would have loved to watch Green too. Hunter Green's the man. So like again, he's packing a punch now. He plays a little bit of outfield. He used to play second base. He's a veteran. He's gonna impart a lot of wisdom. Now this is a good move by the Mariners. This is a bench move that could really pay dividends because this guy's a quality bench player, and those guys are hard to find. Yep, see, he's in there right now. Outfield, first base on the bench, but he's going to be able to come in here and get big-time pinch hit at-bats against tough lefties. J.P. Crawford, Cole Young. He's going to get starts versus some lefties, and he's going to hit some home runs, which is a thing that they struggle with in that ballpark. So I really like this move. This is a sneaky little move. I think Boston thought they were probably at the inside track to get him back. Ref ends up getting paid pretty well. And again, this is one of the more complete teams in the league. Look at the rotation. Wu, Gilbert, Castillo, Kirby, Miller. Unbelievable. Plus they have Cade Anderson coming, potentially. Munoz, Brash, Ferrer. We love that trade for them for right now. Bizardo, Spire, Vargas. That's all very good. Lineups even totally improved. Rosarena, Raleigh, Julio, Naylor. Huge signing. Big fan of that. Canzone was great in the regular season. Robles has been good since going over there. They need Crawford to bounce back. Bottom two spots are sketchy, but Colt Emerson is coming at third. So I kind of like the Ref Snyder move. This was a sneaky little move. Now they have Raley and Ref Snyder on the bench as well as Kisner. Those are all veteran-ish players who are going to impact this team in platoons, but also pinch hitting situations, and I like that for the Mariners. They're building really a complete, well-rounded ball club. So I'm impressed with that. And that's really all I got on Ref Snyder. Yeah, he's got a 150 RC plus against lefties last season. Gore could fit nicely in Boston. So I think Gore might be on the move, and that's what I was just talking about with the Nationals. They might be thinking they could really clean up with a trade. I don't know if Boston would be willing to make another trade. They've already dealt 2 of their starting pitcher depth. I don't know if they're going to want to deal a ton more prospects. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I could see Mackenzie Gore getting moved for a nice return for somebody. He's got such upside. Let's take a quick peek at Gore just to reiterate that. He's never been able to make his bottom end results match the tantalizing talent. 4.17 last year. His best ever was a 3.9. But he pitches innings. He stays healthy so far to the most point. Knock on wood. Look at the K percentage. 80th percentile K, 80th percentile whiff. He's got good extension. He throws hard. 95.3 from the left side, which is outstanding. I think both his curveball and his slider are really, really sharp. There's more evolution. There's more advancement to make of this guy. Get him with another organization, see what they do to him. In terms of the Boston fit, it would be similar to the fit with the Cardinals because now Taboni's with the Nationals. He knows all those Boston people. I could maybe see that shaking free. But again, Boston would have to be willing to play ball, and I'm not sure they are. Although this guy's tantalizing upside. If you believe in your pitching infrastructure and what you can do with a guy, this would be a great guy to get. Lefties with this type of stuff don't grow on trees. And he's so close to breaking out and being a true stud. He really is. So that's why I think he's got a lot of value. Is Gore in the Dylan Cease level of teams will really value him because he pitches every game, has a bunch of strikeouts? Yes. I also think maybe by stuff metrics. So let's go look at Mackenzie Gore's stuff metrics. So they've come down quite a bit. So he's not really on the Dylan Cease level anymore. Only a 101 on the four seam, 102 on the cutter, 99 on the slider, 91 on the curveball, 92 on the changeup. So I thought those pitches were pretty sharp. Maybe it's because they have above average velocity. I bet this has a lot to do with his arm slot and just making these pitches a little bit more typical. So it's funny because a guy who has plus velo from the left side, you put him in the model and it's not in love with him. Now, pitching bot likes him a little bit more. They have his four seam as a 63 grade, which is way above average. They have his curveball as almost a 60 grade. So it depends on who you listen to. But pitch bot likes him a little bit more, I think, stuff-wise than maybe Stuff Plus does. Again, though, I mean, the raw talent's there. Maybe you mess around with some grips, some shapes, some concepts, and you can get a little bit more out of this guy. How much does the Boz trade affect the trade value of pitchers? I think now, I mean, as soon as you see that, you're like, wow, okay. The value of the controlling starting pitcher. Same with Burrows getting moved to the Astros. There was a lot of pieces that were moved for that guy. So to me, in that trade, so to me, in that other trade with Lau involved, so to me, that controllable, pretty good young starting pitching seems to be super valued on the market. So if you're a team who has a guy like that or two guys like that maybe you don't need, but you can utilize them to replenish your system and strengthen your organization, maybe you make that decision. That's why I pegged Mackenzie Gore. There's probably some others that I could think about a little harder. But yeah, Gore would be an obvious one. So maybe something happens there. Well, they all have their own metrics. So there's some teams that probably have him as an above average stuff guy because every team has different metrics. And honestly, the eye test favors him, but that's where you got to look at the modeling sometimes and what's baked into the modeling. Interesting that the Fangraphs don't love him on the stuff. And that's what the Dodgers are looking to do for Cattell too. D-backs. Kind of, but he's like more of like a blockbuster because he's getting underpaid for his production, and he's a huge piece. Like he would get a lot more back because of his overall impact. But yeah, teams are trying to replenish some stuff that maybe they gave up on for people that are controllable at the right prices. And that's what teams want nowadays. They want a little more time on their hands, so the control factor is a big deal. Selfish question, but does it make a Skubal trade easier for the Dodgers? I don't think so. I think ultimately the Skubal trade's tough because it's 1 year of control if he gets traded before the season, or half year if it's at the deadline. And I think that changes the return, but rightfully so. Detroit's going to want an arm and a leg for this guy. So I think the negotiation is just tough to line up. And ultimately, you're going to have to give up on something that you don't want to give up on if you're going to get Skubal. And you better be making that trade if you think it's going to put you over the edge. So we'll see. I agree with Daniel. Skubal's in his own territory. All right, that's it. We're just doing the 1 hour. I have to go get this day going. I got to go run some errands, so get Christmas Eve going. I will see you on the other side of Christmas. Thank you for everybody watching the stream. I know these are shorter the last 2 days, but that's just kind of where we're at in the timeline and in the calendar. And things will pick up more after the holidays, especially after New Year's. We'll start getting the guests back on. Hopefully more news trickles in. We have more stuff to go over. That was really it. Just a few transactions today. And it was nice to look around a little bit. I'm trying to get Justin Courtney on so we could talk a little bit more about winter ball, get a little more of an understanding. But that day is not today, obviously. So we'll just wait and see. Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates. And I will see you guys in a couple days. All right? Have a great one. And make sure if you have kids, make sure you get those kiddos to bed early tonight. That's the key. All right. Have a good one. See you guys. Bye-bye.